The county's first vaccination superstation is up and running in downtown San Diego, and the goal is to vaccinate thousands of people per day. Good evening. Thank you for joining us. I'm Carlo Cicchetto.
I'm Marcella Lee, and tonight for Barbara Lee Edwards. Right now, the only people allowed to get the vaccine at the site are healthcare workers in Phase 1A. Officials say things ran so smoothly today, they were able to open up more appointments than expected. News 8's Kelly Hessedal has more on the push to get people these shots as quickly as possible.
Well, it's day one here at the Vaccination Supercenter in downtown San Diego. We're just outside of Petco Park at the tailgate lot, and you can see plenty of cars are making their way inside. The big challenge the county may face is having enough vaccine.
We know that this is our shot of hope to get through the pandemic.
Rows of cars outside Petco Park as the first COVID-19 vaccination superstation opens up in San Diego. Nurse Christina Gibson was among those in line.
I think it's very important to keep the community safe, so we need it right now.
She says without this site, she would have had to wait until next month to get the vaccine.
These opened up and I was able to move my February appointment till today, so it's really nice.
The goal today was to vaccinate at least 2,500 healthcare workers, but officials here say things went so smoothly, they opened up even more appointments.
Doing okay? Yeah.
We scheduled 2,500 today, and we've got our flow down since this morning. We just opened another 1,000 slots this afternoon. We expect those to go quickly.
The hope is by the end of the week, as many as 5,000 healthcare workers will be vaccinated per day. But the challenge could be getting enough vaccines. The county had just 8,000 left, but did expect to receive more today.
We are expecting a very large shipment of vaccine today, which should be able to take us through the week.
The site operates by appointment only. It allows all people getting the vaccine to remain in their vehicles the entire time. Right now, it's only open to Phase 1A healthcare workers, and they must show proof of eligibility. Governor Gavin Newsom acknowledged San Diego's new vaccination center during today's news conference.
Dodger Stadium, Padres Stadium, Cal Expo, these large mass vaccination sites. This is encouraging, and this is again part of that flywheel. I know it can't go fast enough that all of us should anticipate and expect.
He says $350 million is expected to be coming to California from the federal government, specifically for vaccines.
I think that we'll see more of these in mall parking lots and amphitheaters and fairgrounds and things like that.
And for more information about this vaccination center, or if you would like to register if you're a healthcare worker, just go to cbs8.com and click on the help button.
Thank you, Kelly. More than 1 million people have been tested for COVID-19 at Dodger Stadium up in Los Angeles since it opened up for the process in May. This week, though, it's going to be transformed into a drive-through vaccination site similar to the one you just saw at Petco Park. Once up and running, it is expected to distribute about 12,000 shots each day.
We are learning tonight that COVID-19 in our county isn't only spreading from person to person. The San Diego Zoo Safari Park confirms that gorillas now have the virus, and it's believed they got it from an employee. News 8's Steve Price has the details.
San Diego Zoo Global says the animals started showing symptoms on Wednesday. Now, tests have confirmed that coronavirus is spreading through a gorilla troop at the safari park. Safari Park officials aren't saying which gorillas are sick, but confirmed 3 are currently showing signs of the illness, including a cough and less energy than usual.
They're doing okay. They're experiencing some mild symptoms, and we continue to observe them, but they're drinking, they're eating, and they're interacting with one another.
It's the first time any animals at either of the zoo's parks have tested positive for the coronavirus, a situation so rare.
It's just an area that's long been of concern, human to animal transmission.
The governor mentioned it in his daily media briefing. At this point, it appears the animals contracted the virus from an asymptomatic employee.
We follow CDC guidelines, we follow San Diego County health guidelines. The team wears PPE around all of our wildlife, and so even with all those precautions, we still have an exposure that we think happened with that team member.
Zoo officials say officially 2 gorillas have tested positive, but since the animals live in close quarters, they have to believe all members of the family have been exposed.
So we'll continue our observations closely with our veterinary team, and we'll address each symptom as they arise.
It's not clear if all of the park's animals can even catch COVID-19, but steps are being tightened to further limit the chances for the virus to spread.
We know that it's evolving, it's changing, and the best that we can do for humans and wildlife is just to ensure that we stay up to date on any protocols, that we remain nimble so that we can respond accordingly, and make sure that we're doing the very best we can.
Both the zoo and safari park have been closed since early December, so there's no concern that members of the general public were also exposed. As for the gorilla's long-term prognosis, at this point, zoo officials see no reason that they won't make a full recovery. Steve Price, News 8.
Tonight we're learning Patriots head coach Bill Belichick has declined to accept a Presidential Medal of Freedom from President Trump. This as fallout from last week's Capitol riots continues. The attack has prompted House Democrats to move forward proceedings that could make President Trump the first to be impeached twice. News 8's Brandon Lewis has a look at what we can expect in the coming days.
Carlo and Marcella, Democrats and some Republicans feel President Trump must pay a political price for what happened last Wednesday at the Capitol building. They are calling on him to either resign or have Vice President Mike Pence invoke the 25th Amendment. But short of that, House Democrats say they will move forward with the impeachment proceedings.
This president is guilty of inciting insurrection. He has to pay a price for that.
Democrats are strategizing how to ensure President Trump pays a political price for the riot at the Capitol. The endgame is him leaving office, but if he won't go on his own, then they want to ensure he can never come back.
I like the 25th Amendment because it gets rid of him. He's out of office.
It's also likely the fastest method, but requires Vice President Pence and at least half the cabinet to invoke. Once they notify Congress, Mr. Pence becomes president. Mr. Trump can object, which starts a clock toward a congressional vote, but it would likely drag out, meaning Mr. Pence stays president until January 20th. Alternatively, Mr. Trump can resign, which may take the wind out of the sails of impeachment and future action. Remember, most of the calls are for him to leave office, like from Alaska Senator Lisa Murkowski, who told her local paper, quote, "I want him to resign. I want him out. He has caused enough damage," unquote. If none of those happen, then the House will make good on its threat to impeach Mr. Trump for incitement of insurrection, alleging President Trump's conduct last Wednesday gravely endangered the security of the United States. It's supported by San Diego's 4 House Democrats, and although Mr. Trump's Senate hearing won't likely take place until after Joe Biden takes office, if Mr. Trump is convicted, impeachment could also bar him from holding federal office again.
5 lives were lost. People were killed. This is a president who incited an attempted coup to stop the certification of the next president of the United States to remain in power.
House Democrats say they've done the math. They are confident they have the votes to move forward with impeachment later this week if the president doesn't resign or the vice president doesn't act. Carlo and Marcella.
Brandon, thanks. Days after social media sites Facebook and Twitter suspended President Trump's accounts, social media platform Parler is now offline. Amazon, Apple, and Google all cut ties with the site, accusing it of violating their requirement to moderate dangerous content. Amazon says nearly 100 posts that encourage and incite violence were found on the site in recent weeks. Parler is suing the online retailer over antitrust violations, alleging that Amazon's decision was politically motivated and breaches contract. With our regional ICU space at zero capacity, many local businesses struggling to survive are in limbo right now, just waiting for word they can reopen. Some restaurants are working to make the most of takeout orders and generate a little profit there. But when your businesses can't do takeout, like hair salons, options are limited. Employees have had to live without any income for months at a time during the pandemic. The owner of Headlines, the salon in Encinitas, set up a GoFundMe campaign to try and help her workers with some money and rent relief.
And with all the proceeds, we're giving it to our team. We're calling it the green light. We're focusing towards when the green light will happen.
Governor Newsom said the stay-at-home order was supposed to last for at least 3 weeks, but because of the severity of the situation, things won't change until ICU rates improve.
One of the largest college systems in the country is expecting in-person classes this fall. The UC system, made up of 10 schools throughout the state, including UC San Diego, is banking on the vaccine rollout allowing this to happen. The UC system wanted to make an early announcement so that prospective students can plan accordingly. Specific plans for each campus will come forward in the next months. Huge waves have been crashing onto local beaches for the last few days.
Some areas saw heights up to 12 feet. The waves were so powerful, it forced San Diego lifeguards to close the Ocean Beach Pier. And that was a good call because officials say the high surf did cause some damage to the far end of the pier.
Chief Meteorologist Carlene Chavis joins us now with a look at how long these wild conditions are expected to last. Carlene?
Yeah, it's been one of those pretty consistent west-northwest swells as we've gone throughout the week, and they really peaked for today. So that's why we were talking about those big waves, and we had heights up to about 12 feet. So sets to 12 feet earlier today. That was the peak of it. As we hit tomorrow, we are still talking about sets up to 10 feet, but it's going to start to downgrade. So still with that high surf advisory until 1 p.m. for tomorrow afternoon. Strong rip currents, and the highest surf is anticipated south of La Jolla. Now, when you team up the high surf, and on top of that, we're now talking about king tides, that has led to some coastal flooding. And we saw that earlier today. Places like Cardiff, they were dealing with flooded parking lots because we had that combination. So that's going to stick around all the way into tomorrow morning as well with that next high tide tomorrow morning. And that will be at 6.6 feet at 7:52 in the morning. So just keep that in mind. Streets adjacent to the coast as well as parking lots. If you're going to head to the beach, they will be flooded out. So it's minor stuff as we go into tomorrow morning. We'll go ahead and take a look at your complete forecast coming up. Carlo, Marcella.
Look forward to that. Thanks, Carlene.